Good
All
morning.
right. Waking on up because it is wonderful winning Wednesday. Get the winning Wednesday in
I
your
love
spirit.
them WWW.
WW.
www.winningwednesday.com.
Yes, look me
Cynthia,
up on WWW. Winning Wednesday. All we do is win no matter what.
no matter what. Good morning, Miss Phyllis. Good morning, Miss Patricia.
Good
Listen,
morning.
get it in your spirit when you wake up. Baby, this is getting ready to be a winning day. And it doesn't have to be winning Wednesday. Every day should be a winning day. Every day should be in your spirit,
Mm-hmm.
baby. All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
What?
No
No matter what
matter
comes
what.
up. Let me share with y'all. Natasha, y'all would listen. Natasha, you just have to get used to it. We're just gonna be singing praises all the time because Natasha is just somebody bad. Girl, we were talking this morning, and I just hate to see. I hate that y'all don't get a part of that because we just had a very deep conversation, and Natasha just broke some things down about reconciling with her, which is your younger
Young
self
self.
Mm-hmm.
before you can move forward, because you know how I was telling them that I'm doing a new anthology, so it's her, but it's unshakable, unbreakable, unstoppable. So she told me about a song called Unstoppable, and who is the artist?
By
Natasha.
Sia. By Sia.
So I said, okay, send
SIA.
it to me so we can listen to that. And oh, girl, I'm hollering because she about right. Cynthia Lewis said, "I see you, Natasha. See you tomorrow as well."
Come on, Cynthia. Come on,
So,
Cynthia
look,
brought it out early. She brought it
Cynthia,
out
let me
early at the beginning of the
She
show.
did.
And
It's
Cynthia,
called
we
a
usually try to
one-way
slide
label.
that in midway.
Yeah,
Midway.
she said,
So come
in case
back
y'all
midway
thinking,
show and then
yeah,
let her get all
We are
excited and get
three. We are 3 minutes into the show, folks. 3 minutes into the
look,
show. Thanks a lot,
she said,
Cynthia.
I ain't
Thanks.
waiting for y'all to get to the end. Natasha, you coming back tomorrow.
you cut and then I'm gonna work on Thursday. It's an all week show. Why not? It's
oh,
my birthday, Natasha. It's my
I
birthday. It's my birthday.
yeah, that is
I
so
You know
funny.
you love me. You
I
know
do
you
love
do.
I
So
do
it's my
love you.
birthday. It's
There's
my
Listen,
some
birthday,
y'all,
today.
is.
I
You're like
tell
me.
y'all, let me also put this out first because y'all know my girls laugh. They tell me I'm like a squirrel. I can be all over the place, but I love it because y'all can keep up. So let me say, I didn't say it yesterday. Reverend Pat is on sabbatical. So she's not here this week and she won't be on her daily devotional this week. So y'all let her rest up and regroup and enjoy things, while she's off this week and then she'll be back next week. So, and Cynthia came back with, no, it's all right. Ben said she will be here until Friday.
she don't she didn't know what she was getting herself into. She didn't know she
She
was
did
flying
not.
into home base. This is your home, Natasha.
Yes.
Welcome
Come
home.
home. Talking about coming home to self,
Yeah,
and
I
now I'm
mean,
and now
And
I'm
now,
truly home.
yes. And the Empowered Morning Show. Yes.
yes. But I want to jump back on what Angela was talking about. How Natasha was breaking it down. You got to go get that other, like that herd that you left way behind. That you said, you know what? I'm grown now. I'm a grown woman now. And well, that's another story. But I'm grown now. So you like what happened as a little girl? Hey, look, I'm not a little girl no more. I'm a grown woman. You know how you tell people you're not going to talk to me like I'm a child. You're not going to talk to me. I'm a grown woman. You're not going to tell me what you're doing. And that little girl inside of you is saying, please, yes, talk to me. Like, yes. Hey, I
I
want to have
need you.
fun. I
Yeah.
want
I need you.
yes. So it's so funny because my younger life, my name was Missy, and it's still I still people apologize like, oh, I'm sorry. I know Missy is no longer your name. No, Missy is my forever name. Like Missy, don't you never have to apologize for calling me Missy because Missy lives within me. Me and that girl, we boom, we're together. But it was only until a session with Natasha that made me have to go and get this little girl because I was like, but that little girl is broken. She went through so much trauma. Like, I don't, I finally have arrived that I can hold my head up. And now I have to go get her. And she was like, absolutely. We're gonna go
Mhm.
get her. And y'all, it was a real, like, she did a real homework assignment together. Like, it
Yeah.
was a full episode because nobody talks about the little girl. People
Mhm.
just talk about, don't act like a little child. You're no longer a child. You're no longer a teenager. You're no longer in that living. You're a grown woman now. Every part of you is not a grown woman. I hate. I,
Mhm.
every part of you has not arrived. Every part of you is still a childlike. It's still a little kid in you. You know, it's just like when you your first time getting on a roller coaster. As a grown woman, you act a donkey. Why?
So,
Because we forget about that little, and I'm glad we talked about the behind stage because Natashah, why is it that people just drop off the
Mm.
drop it off?
You know, we have these deep conversations this early in the morning. I'm not sure if everybody's ready for it.
so I'm giving to them.
I
So
have
I
my
hope,
tea. I'm sipping
I was
on my
going to
tea.
say, I hope you have your tea, your coffee, your energy drink, whatever floats your boat. We forget about it because we want to forget the situation. Whatever it is we grew up in, whether that's chaos, dysfunction, trauma, we're like, okay, that was the past. I want to move on from that. What we're not realizing is that there's a younger version of us that is, and we talk about attachment styles, that is attached to that experience. So if you're walking away from the experience, then you are also walking away from that younger version of self. One of the primal needs we talked about before when we talked about food, shelter, love, and affection, we talked about nurturing, needing to be nurtured. And so the little girl, or little boy, right? We're not going to be gender specific here. When we
Right.
were little and we experienced that trauma, we didn't we weren't told what to do and how to deal with ourselves, and no one nurtured us from the moment that we experienced that trauma, right? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times people will tell you to forget about it. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people will say, well, you just need to move on. That's behind us now. Or you yourself tell yourself, well, I need to keep this a secret. I don't want anybody to know about it. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just move on with life and almost pretend like it didn't happen, right? Which puts us in a state of denial. So we end up moving and leaving that little girl ignored, dismissed, and unnurtured. And so right there's a primal need that's not being met in with that child. So now you grow up in age, you grow up in stature, you're moving along in life, but there's a younger version of you, as you refer to as her, right? That inner child that still needs that nurturing. She still needs someone. Kelly said those dirty little secrets, right? We hold that little girl holds on to that. So now have this visual. You have your adult self, and imagine a silhouette of your younger self within you. Wherever you go, there you are. So wherever you go, that younger version of you, her, is with you. So if she is not nurtured, if she is keeping those dirty secrets, if she is believing that she is ugly or she's unworthy or she's not unlovable, wouldn't her spirit, wouldn't who she is be a part of who you are as an adult? And isn't that going to come out sideways? Isn't that going to find us now behaving a certain way or
Mm-hmm.
talking a certain way or maybe defending ourselves or pushing people away because we're like, we don't want anybody else to hurt us,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's where the attachment stuff comes in and how we attach unhealthy in relationships because we're trying to protect her. But the way we're protecting her, we're keeping her caged and in a box, almost like in prison. And we too are trying to forget about her. Right? We have to set her free. So a lot of the work that I do some shadow work and some inner child work, helping people go back, and we had done this, Dr. Sparkle, where I asked you to go back and get a picture of her.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why is you need to be able to see her, you need to be able to visualize her, you need to be able to connect with her. Now, something Rev Pat and I talked about the other day when we had a similar conversation. Not only do you need to go back and get her, you now need to let her get to know God.
Mm-hmm.
Because after what she's been through, she doesn't know
She
God.
don't know God.
She doesn't have a relationship with God the way that you do. So you could be going to church, you can be reading your Bible, you can be doing all the things, right? And that's great. But we're not teaching her to trust in God. We're not teaching her she doesn't need to be scared anymore.
Yeah.
We're not teaching her that she doesn't need to live in that fear. When you teach her, when you bring her to God, that's where you find wholeness within yourself. You have your younger you have your adult you, right? That becomes whole. And now you can truly give all of yourself to God and let God do what he needs to do, which ties into Angela's anthology of the her
Unstoppable, unshakable.
Unshakable,
being
unbreakable, unstoppable.
correct. Because now I'm letting God is driving me. You know, the younger me, he's nurturing the younger me, he's nurturing the adult me. And now I can truly live the life he wants me to live. Now I can truly be authentic. Now I can truly be me, flaws and all. Because Dr. Sparkle, like you just said, when I connect with my younger self, I'm embracing her. I'm basically telling her it's okay what you've been through, but we don't live there anymore and we don't have to stay there anymore. Right?
Yeah.
It's time for us to, as I say, as you know, in the stories with Jesus, pick up your mat, let's walk.
Yeah.
Right? It's time for us to pick up your mat, leave the stuff behind, because and I don't, for anybody that's out there that's listening to this, please understand I'm not minimizing trauma. I understand that trauma is
real.
unique to everyone. It's real. When I say leave it behind, understand that the experience is what you're leaving behind. And what we want to learn to do is not identify with the experience. That experience does not define you and who you are as a person. Right. But when you go back and you get her, you can work together in trauma therapy or
it's
in
like that
Absolutely.
bond. Natashah,
Right.
it's funny that you're saying that because in just my daughter's birthday, my dad was looking at a video of Alicia dancing and singing, and he was just cheesing at from ear to ear. Well, the little girl in me was just smiling because the little girl saw it as my daddy finally sees me now. So it was, and because of what you and I have done, I recognized the little girl, the little Missy that sit there and looked at her and was so excited about it. I told her, it's okay to be happy about this. Like, really be happy. Look, your dad sees you now. He's looking at you and he's proud of you. So, but without the exercises that we have done, I don't think I would have recognized that. I think it would have brought me to tears because I think I would have been like, how he's seeing her, but he never seen me. You know what I'm saying? I think I would have been in a defensive mode versus I was able to embrace it. And then, so fast forward after my birthday party, my dad called me and told me, I got the experience from the little girl. Then he told me how I'm one of God's greatest gifts.
Amen.
Wow.
Amen.
So but I still think it wouldn't have lined up the way it would have lined up if I wouldn't have let Missy, the little girl, enjoy the moment.
So
and then later in life, I got to enjoy the moment.
So that's key. When you say let her, you gave her permission. This is a huge word. A lot of us don't think we have a right to be happy because of what we've been through, right? A lot of us don't believe that we are deserving of a good life and to have joy and to have peace in our lives. So we have to learn to give ourselves permission to feel. So you gave her permission to have joy, to experience that joy. Now you make a really valid point. So I want to make sure that everybody hears this, because you were able to connect with the little girl. Had you not, what you experienced with your dad and your daughter, that would have driven jealousy and resentment. And anybody that out there is going to tell me that, oh, I wouldn't be jealous of my daughter, you better think again. The younger version of you would have jealousy because she's seeing her dad nurture or love or give it to somebody else. And she's over here, the younger version of you going, well, what about me? Right?
Wow.
And so so she's going to get stuck in her feelings. And that is what's going to drive the behavior of being defensive. So when you talked about being defensive, our behaviors are driven by what's going on emotionally within us. So if I'm resentful or jealous, it's going to drive me to push you now away and be like, all right, so that's what you're going to do with her. Well, whatever. you know. But
Wow,
I
that
want
makes sense.
But
I
that's
want to
relation, Natasha, because, and I'm gonna go back to what Sparkle said about the Missy feeling like, oh God, my daddy finally sees me, and it made her happy in that he was looking at something that her daughter was doing. But I'm gonna say this, and Natasha, you correct me if I'm wrong, but we owe it to ourselves to heal the little girl inside of us that
Mm-hmm.
experienced, whether it's rejection or
Mm-hmm.
any other form of trauma or drama, or whatever that was for you. But in healing yourself, you give the person who did not give you what you needed permission to heal as well. Because
Exactly.
think about it, her dad, who may have not been there and maybe in her mind abandoned her because he didn't show
Mm-hmm.
certain things, he
Yep.
didn't give her the validation she wanted at the time when
Mm-hmm.
she was little. So she grew up missing that piece of it and looking for it other places. But
Yep.
when she finally was able to go and get healed, get that little girl, her actions towards him were no longer defensive and no longer like, I'm
You are correct.
calling for the banana in the tail.
Wow.
He's gonna come and
so
get me
the
Wow.
reason
as an adult. But now
so
that
what
Yes.
you're
go ahead.
so what you're talking about there is forgiveness. It's forgiveness of self. So a lot of people think that when they're forgiving a
Wow.
situation, they have to forgive external of themselves. What you're describing is Dr. Sparkle forgave herself. She forgave that little girl, right? She released herself of the guilt, the shame, the rejection, the abandonment, all the feelings that she was carrying. And by releasing that, she created space to allow her father to be a part of her daughter's life. And so there was a natural forgiveness that unfolded there without her ever having to go to her dad and say, I forgive you, because he's probably going to
Mm-hmm.
look at her and be like, what do you need
Yeah.
to forgive me
We've
for?
tried that one, and
Right.
that
Because it's the
that one
forgiveness
don't
in the
work.
behavior. You know what I'm
Correct.
saying? It's the forgiveness in the behavior because if somebody comes to you or you go to somebody and every time y'all are together, it's a tense environment, you
It
looking at me side
was.
eye, I ask you a question, you being snappy, then my natural tendency is to protect myself as well, even if I'm the culprit of the behavior or I'm the instigator of the behavior that you're doing. I'm gonna pull back too because you're not gonna just talk to me crazy and look at me. I don't have to be here for that.
Yep.
But when you can get hold in yourself, then
Correct.
what you give off
That is
is not
so
a
true.
threatening behavior. So now I
Yes.
feel comfortable coming around you because I don't have to feel like the odd person out and
Oh my gosh,
you
Angela, you're
giving out
so
So
funny.
Christmas presents and I'm in the room looking like,
so this
oh,
is what
I
we
should have
this
never
is
came
why
because if this is how
this
you're gonna treat me.
so this is why identifying your emotions and regulating your emotions is important, because what you're now talking about, so you're talking about a lot of things here, by the way. You're unpacking a lot of
Exactly.
stuff,
She
right?
unpacking so much.
It's important for us to bring her out of those past situations. Then we need to forgive. We need to give her permission to feel. Then we need to forgive ourselves. Forgiving self doesn't mean that we're trying to reconcile with the person, place, or thing. It simply means that I am making a personal choice to no longer hold on to those emotions,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm releasing myself of the guilt, the shame, the rejection, whatever. And what Angela's saying is that when I give myself permission to let go of that emotion, my behavior changes. If nothing else today, I want the audience to remember emotions drive behaviors. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're watching someone demonstrating unhealthy behaviors, don't get so hyper focused on their behaving badly or poorly.
Okay.
Recognize that there's something emotional that's going on with
Okay.
them.
That makes
And you
sense.
and you might want to just hand them a feelings wheel, because that's
Mm-hmm.
there's those little, you could go online and print a little feelings wheel that tells you what your feelings, because there's a lot of people out there that don't know how to identify their feelings. All they know is happy, sad, glad, and mad. And
Yeah.
and the new
And
one
it's
and the
so
new one's
many other
anxious.
things in between it.
Correct. So but it comes back from early childhood, us not being able to have the opportunity to talk about what we were feeling and being able to put words to that so that we can understand what we're feeling. So emotional regulation is a huge thing. That's one of the reasons why we go to therapy, is so that we can learn healthy coping skills on how to identify the emotion, B, how to learn on how to deal with the emotion. So like Angela, you're saying, we can change the behavior. So, and then one other step is the emotion that we carry, that we hold on to, is tied to a belief system. right? If I believe after the experience, so I'm going to use Dr. Sparkle's dad as an example. If based on her past with her dad, she believed that she's not a good girl or she's not good enough,
Not good.
right? That belief system then drives feelings of maybe guilt, maybe shame, maybe feelings of unworthiness and rejection, right? At the bottom of that is a little girl that is sad and a little girl that's hurt. So think about all of her life, she's carrying all of those emotions. What does that do to that person? And if every emotion represented a brick, right? Think of all of that emotional weight, that emotional baggage that you're carrying. And when you don't know how to deal with that emotion, that's where now we get defensive, we get argumentative. This is where we could be really passive aggressive and or aggressive. Or in some cases, some people get passive, meaning we just bite our tongues, we sit in silence, we suffer in silence, and we say nothing.
Which is destructive as well, because you are supposed to release emotions in a healthy way. That's how I was saying about crying. I
Look
feel
at
like I'm
that
not gonna cry.
wheel. Like, look at that wheel, that feeling wheel. Look how, like, it's full. It's not like the color wheel.
Baby,
The color wheel
we're
just
healing for real this time because we're tapping into getting
so
down
true.
into nuances. Natasha, I want you to go to Cynthia's question because I think it's really important for people to see both sides of it. Cynthia says,
so what happens
if you had a good childhood but started feeling some of these feelings after being married and divorced?
So I'm going to challenge you live on the air. I'm going to challenge you. People say they have a good childhood. It would require me to really assess your childhood. I believe that if your primal needs are not met in childhood, it plays a huge part in how we handle relationships or the type of relationships that we attract. So if we're getting into a situation where we are in an unhealthy relationship or we're staying longer in a relationship more than we need to, that didn't happen in that relationship. That's rooted in the relationships you formulated when you were younger. So I know I'm probably going to make a lot of people angry this morning because a lot of people like to believe, well, I came from a good childhood. And I don't think it's a matter of good or bad.
No.
Right? I didn't come from a bad childhood. I came from an environment where my primal needs were not met sufficiently. There's a huge difference between what I just said and someone sort of seeing it black or white. Right? And I don't believe that it's black or white because there were certain parts of my childhood that I loved. There were certain parts of my childhood that was great.
Yeah, me too.
But there were also parts of my childhood that I wish I had never been born and had to experience. Right? So I just want to challenge you to not look at it as good or bad, because I think when I speak, we hear like, oh, well, that's not me, and that's not me, and that's not me.
Right.
Go back to primal needs. Your primal needs as a child are food, shelter. We need love. We need affection. We need to be nurtured. We need to feel emotional and emotional safety, physical safety, emotional protection, physical protection. Were those needs met sufficiently? And then we can talk about why it is you then got into the relationship you did into adulthood. But we need to really reevaluate that first.
Natasha, I think one of the good things that you're saying, you're pulling this out. But what we forget is whether you're going to say it was good or a bad childhood, you were still raised by humans. So because you was raised by humans that was not completely healed, like I believe I gave my daughter a great childhood, but it's still places that I missed because I wasn't raised with my dad. My mom, I went to multiple homes. So yes, I think people just like, and I'm not trying to say people, like you said, are good or bad, but we have to remember you're raised by human beings.
And
you're
flawed.
Not with flaws. And then they was raised by a human. Then they was raised by humans. So nobody can get it all right.
Correct.
Absolutely.
No way that you can say
dealing with their own child.
They're dealing with their own. My pregnancy wasn't a planned pregnancy. I didn't plan that pregnancy. So I was broken in a million places. When I got pregnant, Natasha, I didn't want her. I didn't want to be pregnant. I had
Mhm.
already made up in my mind I was never having kids ever
And it's like,
because
how does that translate in vitro? If you're saying, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant. I can't believe I'm pregnant, and I don't
Ooh.
want to be pregnant," and oh my God, and so the baby that is developing is having to
inside of
also
you
deal with the endorphins and the hormones and things that are traveling around inside
mess her up
you.
from mess her up in the womb. I mean, like,
You know what? Because you don't really know because the baby is building is being nurtured from everything that is happening inside of you. Whether you're eating
Correct.
good, if you're crying all the time, if
Correct.
you're, you know what I'm saying,
crying.
angry all the time, whatever that is, you have
They're
released some things
absorbing.
inside
They're
of
Yeah.
you
absorbing.
is
They're absorbing
absorbed
it.
into the baby's
So
DNA
now,
as well.
so now you're talking about generational trauma being
Hmm.
passed
Baby,
down.
listen, that's why
So
Natasha
when
coming back the rest of the week because we're
That's
supposed to
why.
be going
That's why
Tasha style,
we
baby.
not
We can
even
get
gonna
on to
finish
the
this
word.
listen,
subject.
listen, you guys are setting it up and you're allowing me to hit it out of the park because Angela, you are touching on something that a lot of people don't even think about. And for all our mothers that are out there, or for anybody that's currently pregnant, you have to remove this concept of needing to blame somebody. This conversation is
Mm,
not to blame. This is not, because I've had a lot of conversations where mothers say, well, it's my fault. It's nobody's fault,
no.
right?
Ooh.
If you don't know yourself, and so I'm going to use Angela's example where if you're depressed, if you are struggling emotionally and mentally, a child absorbs a lot of you, right? That's why you have to drink extra water. You have to eat extra food. You have to do everything extra because the child is operating inside of you and full occupancy. There's no vacancy for any, there's no room for anybody else unless there's maybe a
Yeah.
potential twin. And even the
Yeah.
twin has a hard time and the other one has a hard time in there, right? So you have this child that's taking up all of what's going on with you. So what's really going on with you? And so Dr. Sparkle, make a great point. There can be a degree of trauma in vitro, in utero, right?
Mm.
Again, this isn't to blame anybody. It's the same thing when the umbilical cord is cut. There is a degree of trauma that happens there. That child has been attached to that mother for 9 months. That
Mm-hmm.
does something to somebody,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
So when you
It is
cut
a
that
lot
umbilical,
to deal with.
It's
But
correct.
so
And
whether,
much
so,
to
whether you
deal
prepare
with.
for it or not,
or
because
not,
when you are pregnant, there are needs emotionally that you want to have. You want somebody, as you're nurturing this baby, you also want somebody to nurture you because
Mm-hmm.
correct,
your hormones are all over the place. You
correct.
don't know what to expect. Most mothers are nervous, especially first time, because you're like,
Yes.
what am I supposed to do with this baby? And what if I'm not a good.
Yes.
So you're constantly worried. What if anything happens? You feel any kind of ache or pain. You're like, oh God, I hope I don't lose his base. So you're
Yeah.
in
You're
a
at the hospital
constant
a million
state
times.
of something when you're pregnant, and whether you need a hug every day or somebody to reassure you every day, and you don't get that. That in turn also adds to once the baby's here. You know how people go into postpartum depression
Mm-hmm.
because the thing
And
that
mothers
you love
don't,
the most,
yep.
you
Yep.
still now are
So,
thinking, am I worthy? Can
well,
Yes.
I
and
do this?
well, not sometimes, a lot of times mothers don't want to attach to their babies. And again, that doesn't
Yes.
make the mom a bad person, but a lot of times they don't want to hold them. What is the number one thing the
Thank
minute
you,
the umbilical cord
Teresa.
is, when the umbilical cord is cut, they throw the child onto the mother?
To
Why?
to attach.
Connection,
Yep.
correct, for
Mm-hmm.
that secure attachment, right? And sometimes, depending upon what the mother's going through psychologically, it makes it very difficult for that connection to occur. And the next connection from that is the connection to the father. Now, one thing I want to toss in here is people who experience abandonment at birth, right?
Uh-huh.
Children who are given up for adoption. I've worked with a lot of families who say, well, I've adopted them and I've had them since birth and I've been an amazing parent. First of all, we need to stop trying to, put ourselves up on a pedestal because it has nothing to do with whether you're an amazing parent or not. The
Uh-huh.
bottom line is that that child was taken, whether willingly or not willingly, from its birth mother. So even
Uh-huh.
though the birth mother signed off for it, and even though the receiving parent is saying, everybody's in agreement that child's going to be in a better place, we're
Uh-huh.
not denying any of that. But that child, I've seen it with a lot of people who battle with addiction and mental health issues. Their core issue is their belief of their separation from the person that gave birth to them. So there's a degree of trauma there that that person needs to address.
Uh-huh.
That is something that our society doesn't understand, that
Yep.
trauma is, it can be complex. It is very difficult. We've all experienced trauma on some level or another, and it does have an impact on the human body. It has an impact on the human mind. And if we keep thinking like we can just somehow get up and move on from it, you're sadly mistaken, because
Yes.
it's going to shape and impact the way you handle other relationships in the future.
I'm
Let
so
me say
glad you
this
said
when I
blame.
think about Cynthia and what she said about having a good childhood. Sometimes in childhood, there's isolated incidences that determine everything else that happens with you. So even though, and then as children, we have the unique ability to push down
Oh
whatever.
yeah, we
And
sit it
so
down.
you just be seen and not heard. So I'm gonna say I'll share my experience, and I never really have unpacked it, but I do kind of sort of feel like it has bled into a lot of other things. Maybe around 7, I want to say maybe 7 or 8, I guess maybe. I was riding a car. So my dad had been married before and had older children. He's much older than my mom. I was happening to be riding the car with my sister and her daughter, and I maybe somebody else, and they were having conversations. And so they were saying that, yeah, because people think that she, just because I blended in with the family, like I look like they could be my dad. You know what I'm saying? And
Okay.
so they made the comment of, and I was in my head thinking like, what are they talking about or whatever? But it came to the realization that that's not my biological father. Even though I had an amazing childhood, I had a great time. But I do realize that because that sticks out to me. I didn't say anything because I didn't feel like I was a child. What was I going to, do with
Mm-hmm.
that? But that shifted how I related in my
Yep.
family. So when my brother and sister were born, I always felt like, okay, that's their dad. He didn't treat me any
Mhm.
different. He loved me. He included me. There was nothing different, but I was different because I felt like, oh, I'm not entitled to that
Yep.
because it's not my dad. So
Mhm.
because of that, I also had the realization that what I see and how I lined up with who he was when I thought he was my dad versus when I realized he wasn't, made me realize he's not who I thought he was from a
Mm.
child's perspective. So
Oh,
that
Mhm.
okay.
transitions over to any other man that I meet. Are you who I think you are?
You
I
Mm,
are. So
think
there's a
you see
trust.
what I'm
So there's a trust.
yes.
Absolutely. So
saying?
there's a
Yes.
trust issue
Thank
there.
you. Even though
I
I
love
had a
that.
great
Yes.
childhood, even though I love my
Love
mom,
that.
my mom had cancer when I was in college. She had breast cancer. And I think that was the first time I ever questioned who's my father because I didn't know if she would survive that or not. But at the same time, I decided not to pursue a ancestry.com to find out anything more because I felt like my mom and I had the best relationship ever. Let me also say today is her birthday, so happy Helen's
Oh,
birthday.
Happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
With that being said, because of our relationship, I felt like if it was important enough for me to know, she would have told me. So I operate, even though I've had,
Mm,
family to say, you should find out, you should do this. Because I had a great relationship with my mom, I never wanted to break that trust. I felt like she should know best. And so I left it alone. But in the midst of that, from that one childhood incident that Cynthia, I had a great childhood, but that one thing has shifted and clouded how I operate, how I do, how I see things,
wow.
why
That
I'm kind of
one.
And that
That
changes.
one.
So like I said, trauma is either one single event or a
uh-huh,
series of events.
uh-huh.
Now that ties into our attachment styles, and I know we're we will run out of time again today,
Thank
and
you,
I'll have to
Father.
come back tomorrow. um
It
I
doesn't
hear
stop.
you. I hear you, God. I hear you. So
And
what
God
you're
is talking at the same time, right?
You're giving me a mini therapy session because it's not something, to be honest with you, it's probably some people who are looking at it and be like, what? That wasn't
Yeah.
your
And the way you operate, the way you carry yourself.
that really
What?
tough. Not a lot of people even
Well,
know that.
you shifted from having a secure attachment with this man to now an insecure attachment, because now as a child, not understanding what happened to your first dad and now happening to this dad, or why your dad's not in the picture, now it raises questions. And it's that lack
Correct.
of
Correct.
understanding. It's that not communicating with our children, because we think children are children, they just don't know any better. I beg to differ.
Mm-mm.
Children know a lot and absorb a
And
lot.
they
She
memory,
probably wasn't
and
even thinking I
it
was
Correct.
stayed in
listening.
her head for
Correct.
Yes.
And like Angela just said,
Because
they
the
think we're not
reality
listening.
is, I'm in the back seat probably reading a book because I love reading books all the time. And so they probably think I wasn't even
just
paying
nerd
attention.
all your life.
But I heard that goes to show you that kids hear things and
Yes.
they process it from where they are in their small brain. You
Correct.
choose what you
Correct.
believe, whether it's accurate or inaccurate. So that's the thing that we have to understand, that sometimes the childhood you may get information that may not even be true. You know how sometimes you think, like sometimes you hear stories and somebody says, well, your daddy was never around or whatever. Your dad may say, I wanted to be around, but your mother wouldn't let me. You
Mm.
don't know
And
the
they
backstory
you
of
don't know.
situations. And so you have, but you form your opinion, and your opinion is the foundation for anything else that happens after that point. So,
100%. Because the perception that you're talking about, you said something earlier that I want to just make sure the audience hears. But based on the age that you are and how your brain is developed is going to determine how you interpret what Angela is saying. Right. So I watched both my girls, they were 8 and 11 through our divorce. My 11-year-old had a better understanding of why mommy and daddy were separating. My
Versus your
8-year-old,
8-year-old.
she wholeheartedly believed that if she didn't come into this world, that her mother and father would have still been alive.
Ooh.
Correct.
because
That hit
most
her
children
heart.
internalize. Most children, I was telling my husband
Correct.
that the other day, we were looking at something. I was like, do you realize that the average child feels responsible for their parents not being together?
Yep.
You
You know
think it's
why?
your fault.
You know why?
Why?
Prior to the age of 12, between the age of 7 and 12, children go through a developmental stage of
Mm-hmm.
self-centeredness.
Mm-hmm.
We all, so that's where we personalize everything. Prior to that, we don't really personalize much. Between 7 and 12, it's developmental. So
Mm-hmm.
if what you're experiencing happens typically before the age of 12, you are
Mm-hmm.
stuck in that self-centered state of believing that everything is
It's
about
about
you.
you.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that makes sense too, Natasha, because now I can talk about all the incidents that has happened in my life. And one of them that I was telling my daughter just a few months ago about me being molested. Well, she's how she tied to it was, wow, that's why you were so protective. That's why I couldn't spend a night with people. That's why if I'm
It's
over
all
my
starting to make
grandmama's
sense.
house and men come, she was like, I never understood why my mom is like so on me. I haven't did anything. I'm not messing with any guys, but she's
Mhm.
just so possessive over things. She was like, that makes sense now.
Mhm.
And she's 26 years old. She just now tied to why something when she was 10 made sense.
Mhm. Well, in my book, I talk about that with my mom. I didn't learn until I got sober and learned in my 30s that part of the abuse that I endured wasn't intentional, and that's why I don't hate my mother. I'm not mad at my mother. My mother came from her own degree of trauma in her life that is unresolved. Thank you, thank you.
Natasha, it's great. What I read so far is
I
amazing.
have to,
My
I'm ordering
journey,
mine today.
understanding the disease of addiction. Get this, it's on Amazon. Get it, because as we're talking, as Natasha is giving us her expertise, it makes sense. And you hopefully will probably see some things or have some questions. And hopefully, as God has blessed us to have Natasha on the show, we can deal with some things. Because, like, even,
I'm
I
just
mean, there's
here
so many
retreat.
things from what I said to what Dr. Sparkler said to what Paula has said right here. I used to tell my brothers and sisters, that's my dad and not your dad. And you know
Mm.
how
And you know how mean? I mean, like she wasn't. She was telling her truth though. That was the
that was
truth.
her truth.
That was her
Sometimes your
dad.
truth comes off as being a mean girl, or somebody says, whatever, but that's because you're dealing with your own emotions
Yep.
of
Mhm.
certain things,
Mhm.
and we have to unpack so much because how we are now is a direct result of all the things that have happened to you
Amen.
and how you
Amen.
have been emotionally attached to it. So sometimes you may feel like, oh, I grew up great. We did this, that, and the other, but it's no different than people sitting in the church and everybody getting this different messages. You all hear the same pastor, but you don't all tap into the same message. So you can have 10 siblings.
Facts.
None of you have the same parents, but none of you have the same
Same
experience.
experience.
Hmm.
That
Because
is so.
you were different ages, and so how
Mhm.
you perceive the experience is unique to you. And a lot of times you see a lot of sibling rivalry because they're upset. Well, why don't you see it my way? And what do you mean you
Uh-huh.
didn't see that? What do you mean you didn't
Or that
experience
You
never
that?
was in
And
the
happened.
same
That
house.
never happened.
I don't
Yeah, we
understand.
haven't
We
seen
was
that
in the
never
same
happened.
house.
Like, what do
But
you mean
and
that never
everybody
Mhm.
takes it different. But before we leave, Natasha, I mean, I'm always grateful. You know how grateful I am that you had me go back and get Missy. But the beauty thing that I love about it is even the way I operate in relationships. Like, guys don't like this version because both of us are together, but they
Mhm.
love that. Like, I had men like, my birthday, I would have had like 3 trips lined up.
So think about that really quick. And I know we have to wrap up. So before you brought Missy back into your life, there's the adult version of you, and there's an empty space right there, and that is where men, work, money, food, sex, drugs fills our lives. Right? When we go back to get that younger version of ourselves for both men and women, there's no room. We don't need, and this isn't to sound cocky or arrogant, this is not to hurt anybody's feelings, but if you are mature in your journey, you
Wow.
will understand I don't need things external of me to make me whole, because I brought her
Oh,
with me and I walk with God, and God makes me whole. That's the difference. So now I
I
no
agree.
longer seek validation from other people.
I,
Wait a
girl,
minute, wait a minute, Sparkle. Let her say that again, Natasha, because
yes.
it's the power. When I say it about the anthology, it's her unshakable, unbreakable, unstoppable. It's because that gap has been closed,
Mhm.
and now you can move forward without needing anything or allowing
Anything
anything to
external.
separate you from God.
Because in order to feel whole growing up, like, again, we don't reconnect with our younger selves. We are constantly trying to fill that void. So this is us, and there's a void. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people will go to church, but they're not really, and I'm sorry if I'm going to offend some people here this morning. We may go to a church, or we would go wherever we go to listen to the word, but we don't allow our cup to be filled in such a way where God can make us whole. So we are still we're still of the world and seeking
Uh-huh,
drugs, food, sex, money, work, you name it, gambling, whatever it is, right?
uh-huh,
We're seeking that for internal validation, right? But when you bring her back into the mix, we don't have room for the other stuff. And when we work on healing her and nurturing her, I no longer need, so Dr. Sparkle, I don't, you were talking earlier, you no longer need men to know your worth. You've come
uh-huh.
together and you know your worth on your own. That's what my program is trying to teach women. It's teaching you that you don't have to be a slave to the things outside of yourself to make yourself know who you are or to feel better about yourself. When you do that internal work, everything around you doesn't have free access. Everything around you gets to be determined by you of what you want to give access to and what you want to deny access to. Right. And at the end of the day, when you have God at the center of you and leading your life, you become untouchable and unstoppable.
That's what I
Yes.
said,
That
y'all.
now when I say this, whew,
Natasha, come.
Natasha ain't came through again.
Let me back
And
up
we
just
still
a
and we
And
bit.
still
we
didn't talk
still
about
not,
attachment
we
styles.
still not.
That's why I come on back. Listen, Paula said a lot of men like the broken little girl instead of the healed woman because the
Well,
There's a
broken
reason
because
little
for
they're
girl
that.
can be
broken
manipulated.
too.
The
They're
broken
Because
little
it's
broken
a
girl
little
can be
too.
boy.
manipulated by the
It's a
broken
little
little boy.
boy.
Yeah, the broken little girl
Absolutely.
can be manipulated by the broken little boy. And then
Yes.
Kelly said, I love these conversations. Wait a minute. Can I get it? Okay, there you go. I love these conversations. It helps in so many ways. Here, I don't have to hide my past, but I can heal from
Amen.
it.
Mm.
Amen.
And we get
Amen.
ready to give you more
Amen.
places to heal because we are like, I'm not sitting on this any longer. We need to give you all to the like the second week in February to get Natashah's book. Once, like, because we're gonna do, first of all, she comes on here free, okay? So the least we can do, the least that we can do is get her book.
Good job.
Once we get her book, then we can come together collectively and let's get this healed real. Let's get healed for real this time.
Let's get
Like, I think
healed for real.
2026 is all about, like, no, I'm gonna do it for real this time. I'm not gonna pat a cake with it. Once she puts the Amazon on there, then we got to work on Natashah later about the other part of the book club. but for right now, make it your business. Yes, you might have to wait till Friday, Sunday, Monday. I'm just saying by Valentine's Day, please have your book so that we can move forward to the next area of our lives. I promise you, I just have a little toast of her and I am a total different woman. Imagine if we touch other places that the little girl is still saying, you still remember when you were sitting on the porch crying and hoping your dad come and he never arrived. So I just had to throw it out. Everybody, please make a commitment to get the book.
So the name of the book, by the way, I'm working
on doing a book club and starting with Natashah's book, so that we can all break down some things that we need to heal from. So
the name of the book is called Getting to the Root of It. Amazon messed things up and highlighted my journey. So we're actually with the publishers right now working on fixing that. So when you go, Angela can.
I was like, oh, yo, no,
beautiful. Thank you, Angela. And Angela can always give you guys the link. It's easier because for whatever reason they highlighted my journey. So when people go on Amazon and type in my journey, they're like, I can't find your book. And I'm like, because that's not the name of the book. But we love Amazon. They're wonderful. They're beautiful. Thank you for publishing my book. So just want to let everybody know it's called Getting to the Root of It. Getting to the root of it. Yes.
I looking forward to tomorrow because we haven't even touched, like, my apology. I was not trying to make it about me or my story. I just knew you did a work on it.
No, I think I appreciate that. But I think, a lot of what you've shared about your own experience and with Angela, that's what other women want to hear about, right? They want to know that other women have been through the journey. They want to know that, you've practiced, you've experienced what you're talking about, and they get to see the results in you. I mean, Angela and yourself and Rev Pat are successful women, not just because of what you do, but what you've been through and your ability to overcome. And it's not just saying, I believe in God. It's not just going to church. There is some inner work that we all must do. And like I said before on the last show, is don't be afraid of your healing. Your healing from the past is going to set you free. Right? So if you want emotional freedom, you've got to be willing to understand that there's a part of you that's missing. I've had a lot of people, I also go back, think about that house. Think about where that last time you saw that little girl, where you left her, and wherever you left her, you need to go make a U-turn and you need to go back and pick her up and go get her. Right? And bring her to what I refer to as emotional safety. Right? She needs to feel emotionally safe. And like you had said earlier, Dr. Sparkle, is giving her permission to feel her feelings. I tell clients all the time, you have a right to be angry. You have a right to feel whatever it is. Those are your feelings. Mm-hmm. What you want to learn is how do I channel those emotions in a way that is not self-destructive and or destructive to others. Right? So I could be angry, but I don't have to go out and get into a fight. I can find another way, like go to one of those break rooms or whatever and start breaking some stuff. I always tell people, go to, the dollar store or wherever, well, not the dollar store, but go somewhere and buy like a cheap set of dishes and go in your backyard and break those things. You will feel so much better by being able to release that anger because you're human, right? So we need to remember that at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We are all flawed. And there are things in our past that we need to release in order for us to be able to move forward. So. And
last, Natashah, will you tell them about, because all of us has been taught that it was somebody's fault, like that blame game. Like if you would just give them a little quick about, stop trying to figure out who to blame, because that's in divorces. That's in the job situations. That's in
In
kinship.
all areas
That's
of our lives.
all areas
Yeah.
of
So
our
why,
life.
I guess the question I want to ask everybody is why do we have to blame somebody? Why does it have to be somebody's particular fault? Now, here's something that's really going to raise some alarms. The person who abused you were once abused. So I
Yeah.
worked in sex crimes for a few years and worked with sex offenders. And while, I'm a overcomer and survivor of sexual assault, so I don't say this lightly, but everybody that offends was once offended,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hurt people. But I saw this the other day and I do agree with it. Heal people, heal people.
They don't talk about that part right there, though.
Correct.
Right.
Right. So understanding that, there's no one to blame. I always say you don't know what you don't know. But when you do know, that is an opportunity to do something about it. So for all the generations before us, our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, and so on and so forth, they didn't know what they didn't know. But when you get educated, that's one of the reasons why, they say knowledge is power. Because when I become informed and I get educated, I have the power to choose. That is where God introduced choice into our lives. You get to choose if you're going to continue to live the way that you're living, or are you going to choose to live the way that I've called you to live? It's just that simple,
Yeah.
right? So there is no fault, there is no blame. And for those of us, this is going to hurt a little bit. Very sorry, but if you guys want me to come back, I got to speak truth.
Yes.
You are personalizing what you're hearing. That means you're stuck in a self-centered mindset and you are personalizing what you're hearing. That's why you're feeling the need to blame yourself and or blame somebody else, right? So there's something, I'm triggering something, I'm ruffling some feathers. And I always say that if I'm doing that, I'm doing my job. So if I've ruffled you this morning, that means there's something that we need to look at in the mirror. And I strongly suggest you call a professional and let that professional help walk you through whatever it is that you need to walk through.
Call Natashah.
Call Natashah,
Yeah,
not no
call
part, not whoever them other people are. I mean, call Natashah.
Listen, to each his own. I love it and I appreciate it, but there are just some people in this world that are just not ready for the truth. Right. Some people still want to go to therapy and they kind of just want to sugarcoat things. And I'm going to be really, really honest with you. The name of the program is, it is what it is, and getting to the root of an issue. I want you to be healed. I want you to be released from your past so you can truly live life. And if you're not ready, then you can go see someone who is willing to do the surface work with you. And when you're ready to do the deep work, call me.
That's how you ended Natashah. If you want all that patty caking, go to somebody else. And then when you realize that patty caking is not working, then come and get to the root of it and let's talk.
Hey, let me give you an analogy. It is like baking a cake and you put all the ingredients together, right? And you stir it up, you pour it in the pan, you put it in the oven. You've done the part. They told you how to put it together to make the cake, but if you don't cut the oven on, ain't nothing happening. You got to have heat in order for the cake to cook and rise and bake, right?
I have officially rubbed off on you, Angela, because I would have said that.
Great analogy. That's going to be stuck in my head. Don't forget to turn the oven on.
Don't forget to turn. And it's the same way.
You put it together, but you're not going to get a cake just because you mix the ingredients together and put it in the oven. That has to be turned on for that heat to put it all together in order for you to get the end result, which is a fully baked, delicious cake. Period. And
or you can leave it in there forever, and now you have a burnt, dry, no good cake. So we want the cake to taste good. We want the icing. We want the sprinkles. We want it to rise to the top. So what I'm saying is we want a balance. We want to be healed. Balance is healed. But we will see you tomorrow, Natashah. Natashah is back with us tomorrow. It sounds like a Thursday show. And then go ahead on Thursday when y'all go to bed tonight. Just be like, Lord, thank you for bringing Natashah back on Friday. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to because some things, I'm going to put this one on at 7 o'clock tonight as well, because some things require you to go back and dig deep, because the reality is what we're talking about, even though we laughing and cutting up in the midst of it, it's deep topics. It's really
Yes.
things that will change the trajectory of your life if you allow
Mhm.
it. But the
For
reality
sure.
is, you've got to sit down and realize when it's enough is enough. That I can't keep just staying status quo and not rocking the boat because somebody will find out some things about me that or I've got to go back and deal with the ugly truth of what I've been pushing down all these years. You're with people
Mm-mm.
who want to see you be better, who want to see you become the her or the him that God created. And if we can help close the gap in some way where that younger you and the adult that you are now can come and become one, so that nothing besides God would come in between that
Amen.
gap. There's no longer a gap. It is just all of you infusing, and it's you, yourself, and I with God. That's where we're trying to help you get to. And it's going to be hard. I can tell you,
It
I can
is.
tell you, it's not a walk in the park. It's not a good
It's
feeling when you
not.
got to go back and look at, oh, I don't really want to deal with this. I mean, I got a 6-figure job. I've got a husband and 2 kids.
Mhm.
You don't
My
want to go
fence,
back and
my
deal
house
with the
is
ugly.
fenced in, you know.
Exactly. Open the fence up and let's deal with the foolishness that's on the other side of the fence, so that what you're really doing now is really living. You think you're living, but
Yes.
when you heal, it's a whole, just like how peace, you can't buy peace. When you get
Yep.
peace, you don't want to release peace. When you get joy, you don't want to release joy. When you get
Amen.
healed, you don't want to release healing. Let's do
God
this
has
for
never
Yeah.
given me
ourselves this
A-
year. Do it for
spirit of
you.
truth, but spirit that I
And
learn after
Angela,
repeated.
that's for real how I can be the author of I Am My Dream Come True. Like that's I'm like for real, when you get healed, you can talk like that. Because
Uh-huh,
it's
Mhm.
not a talk anymore. It's a
uh-huh.
I know I
I've
am
experienced it.
my dream come true. You're not talking no
Absolutely.
more. And before you used
Absolutely.
to say stuff like that and that you were just running off the mouth.
Uh-huh.
But when you get it deep down inside of you just want to share to the whole world. Like you can, girl,
You
I
can
don't
be
care
too.
what you've been through. You can be your dream come true. Like you really
Mhm.
can.
And you really
Yep.
can.
You
You
Pay
really
it
really
can.
forward.
can.
Yep. Okay. I believe God. Do y'all? Okay. Do you believe God? Do we believe? We believe God. This has been a phenomenal show, Natasha. Again, we pray blessings on top of blessings that you
Yes,
had
yes,
swimming
yes,
blessings
yes.
all over your life because of your unselfishness. Like I could not call just a therapist and ask them to come on the Empower Morning Show. They're going to send me an invoice. I guarantee you an invoice is coming with, yes, I can do it, but this is what I'm probably going to charge you. So
I believe that.
out of your heart, you show up for us. From your
Always.
heart,
And we love it. And we love
we
you.
love it. But we
I
will
love you guys
see
too.
you to Natasha. We'll see you tomorrow. We will send you the link so that you can jump on
That part,
tomorrow.
that part,
Have
that
a
part.
blessed day. Love y'all.
Bye,
Love you.
guys.